Hi, everyone. My name is Leisha Michelle. I am the author of the White Allies Handbook. It will be publishing July 26th. I'm really excited to be here to talk to you about allyship and really what it means as a white person for you to stand up and speak up about racism. I want to start with a little story about just how I kind of awakened to the racism around me when I was very young. So when I was 7 years old, I lived on the corner from a really good friend of mine, a white girl who I played with all the time. And one day we were playing and having a great time. And my mom came over and she said, "I'm going to the store, so just play with your friend and I'll be back soon." So that was great. We played and had a great time, like I said. And I needed to go to the bathroom really badly. And so I asked my friend, "Can I use your bathroom?" And she said, "Let me ask my parents." So I waited and, she comes back out, opens the door, and she's extending her hand with a roll of toilet paper. And she said, "Well, my parents said that we don't allow niggers in our house, so you have to go to the bathroom outside." Um, I didn't, I was 7, I had no idea what to say. So I just took the toilet paper and I squatted behind a bush and did my business. What I do remember about the experience is the smell of wet leaves behind those bushes and how dank it kind of all smelled back there. And I remember being really embarrassed about the entire situation. But again, I awakened to really what it meant to have Black skin in this country. And I relay that experience just to have white people really aware of what Black people experience in this country. I mean, I was 7 years old. That was not what I needed to learn at such a young age. So that's that story. I'm going to talk to you about allyship, and I really hope that after you listen to what I have to say, that you're excited enough to buy my book, to start your own ally journey, and to really join the fight that we're in. So let's go ahead and start. So a little bit about me. Again, I'm an author. I'm also a librarian. I've been a librarian for about 15 years. I'm an activist, definitely. I'm the founder and leader of Real Talk, which is a Facebook group, Women of Color and Allies for Racial Justice and Anti-Oppression. And I've run that group since the 2016 election. That's the reason that I actually started the group, because I realized that with Trump in office, we needed to really get serious about anti-racism work. So a couple of things to think about when we're talking about allyship. There's never a time where we can take a break. You can take a break as an ally. There's always some kind of injustice that you could be fighting. So, I don't want people to get into this comfort zone, like when President Obama was elected and white people were like, "Ooh, now we're in a post-racial society." Well, no, we've never been in a post-racial society. So, there's always something that you could be fighting. Consider what allyship means to you. What are your motivations? Your motivation really should not be anything centered around you're wanting to feel good, or it's something that you're doing because you feel sorry for Black people. It's really that it's the right thing to do, and it's the way that you're going to help us gain equality and justice. My lens is a Black woman. I am a Black woman. So I talk a lot about what that means in relation to racism and white supremacy. So the very first thing that I would say, if you're considering, and I hope that you are considering being an ally, is really learn what it means to do anti-racism work. Join a racial justice group. And this is really huge because this is work that just really can't be done in a bubble. It's emotional work, it's hard work, it's a work where you have to really use a lot of introspection. And that's only possible when you're talking to other white people and talking about your experiences and really working together to become a good ally. Benefit from spaces that are led by Black women. And I say this because there are actually a lot of groups that white people are leading that are anti-racism groups. It's fine to join those, but you also need to listen firsthand to Black women, our stories, our experiences, and really gain your knowledge directly from us. There's definitely a comfort. I know of joining a white-led group because those people look like you. So it's going to be easier in a lot of ways for you, but I also think you need to pay attention to the fact that you will not be challenged at the level that you will be challenged in a Black woman-led group. Another way to be an ally, and I'm sure that you already know this, but just to reiterate it, is to support Black women in leadership positions. And this is really, really important. Find community leaders. So I know we talk a lot about Black women, Black female politicians, but there are also people in your own community, Black women in your own community who are doing important work. Look for them, seek them out, and support them however you can. As far as politicians, you're going to phone bank, you're going to canvass for those politicians, you're going to donate money. So make sure that you're doing actionable things, because that is allyship. Allyship is not a passive endeavor. It is very much action-based. Support Black female businesses. Now, this is something that when you join an anti-racism group, you're going to hear a lot of white people talk about businesses that they support. They buy particular products or services solely through Black women's businesses. So, find out who those are and throw your support behind them. If you're in your own organization, you have to speak up and stand up. When you see something, say something. That's a really common saying. But anything that is, racist or, any situation where that a Black woman is being treated unfairly, you need to speak up. Specifically, if you're in a position that is a decision-making position, or you're on a hiring committee, or you're in human resources, those are the places that you really can make a huge difference, and there's no reason for you to be silent. I want you to take advantage of white accountability partners as an ally. These are going to be just huge for you and your success as an ally. They help you stay on track with your ally work. It's hard to do this work by yourself, because at some point you're just going to get really complacent and stop moving forward. So if you're constantly checking in with other white people, it's going to be beneficial, because they're going to challenge you on your beliefs and challenge you on what type of work you think you're doing. This is also a great space with other white people to use these scenarios and role playing. And I have a lot of scenarios and role playing in my book that you can use, but you also can make things up. You can take situations that have happened and role play them to see how you could better deal with them. Accountability partners and working in groups is a really great way to unpack mistakes that you made. And you should be able to learn from those interactions. So going forward, you're going to just do better. You need to call each other in when necessary. So again, when you're in these accountability partnerships or accountability groups, you're friends, but first and foremost, you're allies and allies in training. So you should be stepping up to call each other out and to work through problems and to learn from those mistakes again. You don't want to partner with your family and friends. And I say that because those are the people that you're going to have the hardest time confronting. So, it's counterproductive to work with someone that you're so close to that you're just afraid to hurt their feelings. So just avoid partnering with family and friends. Accepting criticism without defensiveness is a huge part of being an effective ally. When I work with allies, this is something that they still struggle with years later, but the way that you react to criticism is really key in how successful you're going to be as an ally. So we don't want to make excuses. If you screwed up, sit with what people are saying to you and listen. There's no defense that's going to be effective enough for you to overcome a racist comment. It's just not going to happen. So you're going to listen, and you're not going to talk. You're just going to listen. You can ask clarifying questions, but you're going to listen. You don't want to tone police the messenger. Racism is not pretty. So when someone confronts you on it, their response is not going to be nice. It could be very direct. It could be very angry. If it's someone like me, confronting you, I'm not going to respond to your racism with like a really kind, sweet comment. It's probably going to be fairly angry. Apologies are never going to be enough. You can say that you're sorry in that moment, but did you really understand why it is that what you said was a problem? Do you understand your mistake yet? You don't. So you can apologize, but you really need to understand it and be able to work through it and do better. So another thing as an ally that it's important that you do is being able to initiate difficult conversations about racism. And this is the place where we are making real change, because this is the actionable part of allyship. So think about who you talk to. It's tempting, I know, to delve into conversations immediately with people that you're close to, and you're welcome to do that. But those are the conversations that are going to be the most difficult. It is okay to find the low-hanging fruit, as I call them, the people who are going to be more receptive to your message. They could be your family members. I would say try your best in the beginning to start those conversations with people who you think you'll have a better experience with, and then you build up to those harder conversations. It's okay during those conversations and during those talks to acknowledge that this is going to be a difficult conversation between you and the other person, because you have to think about how you felt or how you feel when someone talks to you about something that you said or did. It is uncomfortable. It can make you angry. It is emotional. It's okay to acknowledge those things because it's just part of the work. You're going to really think about, after you've chosen the person you're going to talk to, what resources are you going to use? This is a really important part of the work too, because you need to have a library of things that you share with people that you're trying to educate. How do you get that library? It's going to be from your racial justice group. It's going to be from readings that you're doing. It's also going to be from your accountability partners. They will have things that they use regularly that you can kind of add to your library and use. You want to set realistic goals, and this is a really big one, because oftentimes I think that when white people are doing racial justice work as a new ally in training, they think that one conversation is going to do it. And you think about that the person you're trying to educate has had this line of thinking, this line of racist thinking their entire lives. So it's going to be multiple conversations. You're going to be chipping away at their beliefs and chipping away at it and bringing forth different resources and really trying to educate them and confront their beliefs and try to change them. And you can't do that in one conversation. One thing you also want to do when you're having these talks with people is you want to use your own experiences, because you don't want to come off as someone who's never made a mistake and never said or did something racist. You have to use your own experiences, and that's going to be a way for them to relate to you and be able to trust you. You want to recognize that you benefit from white privilege. And I know this is a touchy subject with white people, but there's plenty of reading out there that talks about the history of white privilege and why it is so detrimental to Black people, but how you can use your white privilege for good. So the definition of white privilege, just so we're kind of all on the same page: the unearned, mostly unacknowledged social advantage white people have over other racial groups simply because they are whites. Again, using your white privilege for good. A lot of white people who are doing ally work understand that there are things they can say and do in certain spaces that I cannot. For example, I talked about speaking up at work. Now, there are things that you can say as a white person if you see something problematic that you're pretty confident you're not going to be reprimanded or fired, whereas I would not be. So you have to find those spaces and be able to use that white privilege to drive real change. Again, this is a time when you can talk to your accountability partners and speak up in your racial justice group to get ideas. The other thing that is really important to think about is this idea that a colorblind society is our goal. As an ally, one of the most important conversations that you're going to have with other white people is to really challenge this color blindness thing, that yes, it's great to be colorblind because that means you're not racist. Now, my history is very rich and complex in this country, because again, my family's been here for almost 8 documented generations. And, I don't want someone to look at me and say, I don't see your color. That just means they don't see me and they don't acknowledge or respect the fact that I have a history, a rich history, and a lot of experiences in this country, good and bad. So all of us have those things. We don't want to ever accept a white person saying that, oh, I'm colorblind, this is really great. So as a white person, as a white ally, you're going to have to challenge those notions. And there's plenty of reading out there that you can share with them, lots of conversations. especially now, have kind of come up as far as why saying you're colorblind is actually racism. So I want to also talk about, as an ally, one of the things that a lot of people fall into is this idea that you have to be perfect in this work. And then the other thing they fall into is being performative. And I want to touch on those because really I've met almost no white allies who have not fallen into one of these. So it's really important to be aware of them. Perfectionism. This is something I think when you start out as an ally that really, really stunts your growth as an ally. You're never going to do this work perfectly. You're going to make mistakes, but think about the things that you've learned in your life that you're good at. You made mistakes, you learn from them, you move forward. It's the same thing in ally work. You're going to make mistakes. Practice makes perfect. Keep going, keep going. It's okay to make a mistake. You know, you're going to be called out, you're going to be criticized, but, you know, sit with that and then learn from it. Don't lurk. You know, this is something I think that white people also kind of fall into this trap of I'm reading, I'm listening, but they're not doing anything with the information. So if you're just reading, you're just collecting things, you're just collecting knowledge. I need you to educate other white people. That is the work. It is not just reading and silently listening. I think another thing that happens is this idea that a call out or a criticism is just the absolute worst thing that could happen. I'm not saying that you have to think that being called in is something you look forward to and it's an amazing experience. I mean, it can be an amazing experience, but I also want you to be aware that being called out is an opportunity for you to learn and be a better ally, and you will be called out. If you have not been called out, think about how you're doing the work, because if you think you've been an ally for several months and no one's called you in, then you really haven't gotten out of your comfort zone and actually tried to experience new things and have conversations that are complex and emotional for you. The last thing, and it kind of ties into what I just said, you want to embrace discomfort. It's okay to be uncomfortable as an ally. As a matter of fact, you should strive to be uncomfortable. Get out of this box of whiteness where everything is just nice and you don't have to worry and you're not having conversations that make you upset or make you angry or make you defensive. Embrace that discomfort, because that is really how you're going to learn. So I love this picture, performative allyship, playing to an audience. And what I mean by this is, there are allies, and, as you get better at the work, and when you're in these racial justice groups and when you're in these accountability groups, you're going to start seeing white people who are playing to an audience. And the audience is typically me. It's going to be a Black woman, whoever is the person in the marginalized group that they're supporting. They've made the decision somewhere in their journey that they love the accolades, they love the compliments about how great they are at doing the work, and now they've shifted to that's their focus. So when that becomes your focus versus anti-racism work, then you start centering your own feelings, and then your motives change. In a lot of ways, you become harmful. When I've experienced white people who do this, oftentimes they see me now as some kind of object on a pedestal and something to be collected and something to be kind of revered in kind of this weird idle way that I don't have any interest in. So pay attention to the reasoning behind why you're doing the work, because it really should be for the equality of Black women, and it should never be because you love the compliments and that they make you feel good. Don't compare yourself as an ally to other people, because one thing that I've learned in doing this work and paying attention to how white people do allyship is that one week you can be an amazing ally, and the second week you can fail miserably. But you learn from it. Again, you learn from it and you move forward. If you think that you're going to be an amazing ally every day, every hour, every minute, then you're just, lying to yourself. Again, you're going to make mistakes. That's just part of the journey. So make sure that you're checking in with yourself to ask yourself, why am I doing this work? Is it to really uplift and support Black women, or is it because I really love being complimented and praised for doing this work? So starting your own ally journey, and these are some things that you can do right now that I hope that you take to task. Join a racial justice group. If you need help finding one, there are lots of them online. If you have any kind of social media account, Facebook, Twitter, you can ask on there, does somebody have a group that they can suggest to you? Join several because you want to hear a lot of different voices. Find an accountability partner. Again, when you join your racial justice group, you're going to see other like-minded white people. So you can ask, does anybody want to be an accountability partner? Do you want to form a group? It's really important for you to do this because you're going to need that support system. Start building your resources library. I know allies who have literally several hundred pieces of literature, documentaries, readings, short videos, events they've gone to that are annual events that help them become allies. These are going to be things that you're going to share with people that you're trying to educate. So keep building that library and ask other allies what they use and why they use them and how they use these resources. Listen and learn from anti-racism work. Now, this again is, in your racial justice group, in your accountability group, just really pay attention to how other people are doing the work and learn from them. That is a really big part of you progressing as an ally. I mentioned earlier role play scenarios, and these can be scenarios that you've personally experienced, ones you've made up, ones that are in my book. This gets you comfortable having the real conversations, and that is so, so important because those real conversations are going to be what really drives change. But remember, when you're having these talks with other white people, they don't have to be perfect. They just, you just have to just try to do it. And then later on, when you kind of deconstruct what happened, you'll be better for the next time. And again, don't just listen. Don't just listen. You have to take in information and you have to use it in some way to teach other white people. Because again, allyship is action. It's not passive. It is an actionable thing. And you always should be in motion as an ally. I hope that this was useful for you. Thank you so much for having me. Don't forget that my book comes out July 26th. Good luck on your own ally journey. And I am on Twitter. If anyone ever needs to reach out to me, I'm Leisha Michelle 11 on there. We have a lot of great talks about allyship in my space. Thank you again for having me and take care.